Subhan Allah, which means praise to Allah. Peace be upon you. Recently, after we discovered the computer and the search engine, 1,400 years after Muhammad, peace be upon him, a famous among his people as Muhammad the illiterate because he doesn't know how to read and write, we found something incredible about the Quran. We used the search engine to find words in the Quran. And the result was amazing as follows. The word dunya, which means worldly, mentioned in the Quran 115 times. And the word al-akhirah, which means hereafter, mentioned the same 115 times. The word al-malaika, which means angels, mentioned in the Quran 88 times. And the word shayatin, which means demons, mentioned the same 88 times. The word Muhammad, mentioned in the Quran 4 times. And the word ash-sharia, which means Islamic law, mentioned the same 4 times. The word anas, which means the people, mentioned in the Quran 50 times. And the word anbiya, which means prophets, mentioned the same 50 times. The word as-salah, which means the prayer, mentioned in the Quran 50 times. And the word fata, which means mist, mentioned the same 50 times. The word iblis, which means the devil, mentioned in the Quran 11 times. And the word a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytanir rajim, which means, I seek refuge with Allah from the accursed Satan, mentioned the same 11 times. The word rajul, which means man, mentioned in the Quran 24 times. And the word imra, which means woman, mentioned the same 24 times. The word al-hayat, which means life, mentioned in the Quran 145 times. And the word al-maut, which means death, mentioned the same 145 times. The word as-salihat, which means good deeds, mentioned in the Quran 167 times. And the word as-sayyat, which means bad deeds, mentioned the same 167 times. The word al-jar, which means speaking out, mentioned in the Quran 16 times. And the word al-kitman, which means discretion, mentioned the same 16 times. The word al-musiba, which means the misfortune, mentioned in the Quran 75 times. And the word ash-shukr, which means thanks, mentioned the same 75 times. That the word al-huda, which means guidance, mentioned in the Quran 79 times. And the word irama, which means mercy, mentioned the same 79 times. Watch the words and its opposite words. These statistics prove that this Quran is the word of Allah, and the people cannot make like it. And there is another word in the Quran, such as the word al-jaza, which means the penalty, mentioned in the Quran 117 times. And the word al-maghfirah, which means forgiveness, mentioned in the Quran 234 times. Twice of the penalty. The word al-azr, which means hardship, mentioned in the Quran 12 times. And the word al-yasr, which means ease, mentioned in the Quran 36 times, 3 times of hardship. And the word as-salah, which means the prayer, mentioned in the Quran 5 times. And the Muslims pray 5 times a day. The word yawm, which means day, mentioned in the Quran 365 times. And 1 year is equal to 365 days. The word ard, which means land, mentioned in the Quran 13 times. And the word al-Bahr, which means the sea, mentioned in the Quran 32 times. If you divide 13 by 32, the result is 0.40625. And it is the exact same if you divide the globe land over the sea on earth. And the above proves that the Quran is from Allah, especially given to us, using Mohammed the famous illiterate to recite it to us. It is a miracle. Glory to Allah who give us the Quran.